Deborah, all we see is your bottle on your wall. How do you know it's Deborah?
I saw her.
No.
Okay,
All right.
start.
All right. Well, good evening. I'm glad that you guys are here. Maybe there are other people on YouTube. Maybe other people will join yet. But who's ever here, it's nice that we're here. Let's begin with our aspirations. And if you're on YouTube, I think Emily has a link to the text up. May all beings always have happiness and its causes. May all beings always be free of pain and its causes. May all beings always be pain-free and live happily. May no beings ever cling to those near nor spurn those far. It's perhaps a particularly powerful aspiration for us now. May all beings. Let's sit in the wake of that, in the fullness of that, and take a moment to, as always, relax into the support that you feel from your seat. You can feel it, don't have to think about it. Let yourself be held, deeply held, firmly held, lovingly held from the very center of this earth. That's what she's doing, our Mother Gaia. She is always holding us. And as you allow yourself to settle into that, and it may take some minutes, we're kind to ourselves. We know that settling is in our possibility. It will occur. We can't control how or when, but we have faith, confidence in ourselves as an organism. We can settle down. We will settle down. We have settled down. And that is a comfort in the midst of a lot of things that are quite unsettled around us. But we can settle. That unsettling is not our unsettling. It's something that we're aware of, but not necessarily unsettled by. So allow yourself in the friendliest possible way. Just this space, these moments. Feeling that contact and feeling it as a stretched out welcome to you from the center of the earth. You are welcome here. You are welcome to sit on your seat. That feels good to acknowledge. This is your space. And that confidence, that trust, that right in this moment, wherever we are, it is our seat. And we can settle. And in whatever amount of settling begins to open for you, any amount at all, even just an orientation to settling, isn't that already a bit of refuge? Just a moment of sensing contact with your supportive seat. It's real, it's not fanciful, you can feel it. It does come to you from the center of the earth, directly beneath you. We are being held. And whenever you feel the moment is right for you, you feel that the settling is in process. We turn our attention to join with our breathing, feeling, sensing your own breathing. At exactly the pace that is right for you. It comes in. It moves down, nourishing you with energy. And just at that moment when it's enough, you let it go. You don't think these things. We're just appreciating that this is how we are. We know when to take in, to hold, to let go. And so we'll breathe together for a few minutes. Remembering when you feel ready to feel your breath also going all the way down to your belly, letting your belly relax. Welcome the breath. Expel the breath. And appreciating the power of presence that you may experience in your heart, in your belly. Really appreciating the capacity that you have to sit deeply in your seat in difficult times like these. Appreciating your heart, its richness. Appreciating whatever degree of calm or ease you may experience in this moment. Just appreciating it. If there is a settling in your belly, appreciate it. Maybe you can feel appreciation just flowing through you, whatever it feels like to you. Maybe some part of you quarrels with feeling appreciative. Can you appreciate that? Some honesty. We'll continue to breathe just a little bit more. So if there emerges for you any sense of a part of you that maybe doesn't feel appreciative or maybe feels afraid, worried, let that worried you sit in front of you. Maybe as a young child would sit in front of his or her mother. And regard this fear in front of you with kindness, with love, with the aspiration that this part of you of happiness, wish yourself happiness, freedom from suffering. And in a way that's meaningful to you, as you exhale, send light, love, kindness, or just look into the eyes with love of this part of you that's sitting in front of you, that's afraid or worried. And let the worry that you are taking in right now not be enormous, not terror. Tamp it down a bit. And send your love, send your comfort. We'll do that for a minute. And perhaps there is a shift, either in you as the sender, the bestower, the kind mother, or in that being that you identified as part of you. Perhaps there's some change there. Now that you're familiar with this, invite, if it feels right to you, another person, somebody you know who is worried, perhaps is already sick, worried about getting sick, worried that someone they love is sick. And exhaling pure, essential, comforting love that you send them. Pure, essential, comforting love. That's all we can do. And to the extent that you're able to sense that you are doing this, the extent to which you have a sense of what pure, essential, comforting love feels like, some appreciation for this that you are able to offer. And imagine that these beings are fully themselves now, dissolving into essential love. They've received what you've offered. And let this seed of pure, essential, comforting love, however you feel that is, let it take form as a kind of orb of delicate light in the center of your heart. Comforting love at the very heart of you. And with the sound Om, send that comforting love from the very heart of you into every cell and part of you, streaming through your entire body. Every cell lit up and comforted by it. With a second Om, it opens from your heart through you again, and this time goes past the boundaries of your body out into the world around you, especially the people close to you. And once more from your heart to your entire body and out into the entire body and bodies of the whole world. Essential, pure, comforting love, filling everyone. So love seems really important when things are going awry, which is most of the time in samsara, and certainly these days. So very precious that we can come together and open our hearts in any way at all in these difficult times to ourselves and to each other. The world is full of stories, always, and full of stories these days about what is happening in different parts of the world and different people, and in your lives, our lives. And been thinking about some stories of early practitioners and their encounters with the Buddha during their own turbulent time. Maybe we'll talk about that, but I think a good part of why we're here is to be together and to hear a little bit, if you like, of how are you? What is happening? What happened for you in the practice that we did? Or another practice that you're doing? Well, when you're not doing practice, how are you? Yeah, Dan.
One thing I've really noticed in my compassion type practices last week or two is it's been very easier than ever to like get a sense of common humanity, and the edges that have been kind of tough to get over in terms of those categories of neutral, and it's just really easy right now for me to like tap into this sort of shared suffering. And so in some ways my practice has gotten deeper the past few weeks, and it's kind of bizarre. It's not something I can really share because I can't, like the coronavirus is doing great things for my practice, but I've noticed these sort of differences in my practice that in the past few weeks.
Very interesting. Maybe, I don't know, do you care to explore more about that? Obviously, the suffering around us maybe is more palpable than it has been. And I'm really struck by what you said about, the fact that it's shared. We really have this maybe unprecedented sense of all being in this together. I wonder if that's part of it. What you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Just even people I feel like are really perpetuating the problem or making it, doing things that are not necessarily working towards a solution. I can still sort of just sense the fear and anxiety underneath. It's sort of common. I just can sense that we really are all in this together.
Yeah.
And then on a personal level, I've been very reflective of, and it's really not been in a self-critical way, just kind of the stories and the identities and all these sort of things that aren't really real that I've constructed my life around that. So it's also been just insightful in terms of my own sort of stories that are been driving my life that I wasn't really aware to the extent that I really was attached to those stories.
How amazing, to see them. Perhaps a sign that they're loosening up. We can see, you will see. Stories are really powerful, the stories that we tell ourselves, and they hypnotize us. It's not just that we tell them. But as you say, in a way, we don't tell them, we just live them. And then, as you're saying, eventually someday realize that they're stories. They're just stories. They're not me. At least that's what I'm hearing you saying, striking a deep note with me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, something about being confronted with something so enormous and being confronted with it in the company of the whole world. It's really a kind of new experience. Seems like it would give rise to different capacity of self-reflection if we give it space. That's what I'm hearing from you. Thank you. Yeah, anyone else? Yeah, everybody else. Okay, Deborah, and then Kat. And then I can't see if Anne, anyway, start with Deborah.
Well, I just had a kind of stressful day because in this time, anything that you have to do becomes amplified with difficulty. Right. And so I have a minor health thing, but it's very contagious to my immune compromised cat.
Right.
And so when I talked to the vet last Thursday, they couldn't even bring her in to treat her, but today she went. But it took 3 trips because the other cat had to, it was just 3 trips going back and forth and trying to get ready for these smelly, stinky cats to come home and have a place to stay for a day. And it all sounds really trivial in the light of the world, but I think we all have this certain level of stress right now.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, I was just like, oh. And then there's some political stuff that, in 2017, I made myself physically ill over some political stuff, and I've maintained distance from that. But in all of this, it's very easy for that to catch hold again.
Yeah.
And so I was like, a friend of mine called me. I said, I have to go to the Stone Mountain meeting at 7. I'll talk to you later. Very very settling and refreshing, and not being in it alone.
Mm. Yeah.
So thank y'all.
That's a great discovery. I mean, we kind of know that, but when we actually see it, it's great. So thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, it would have taken me, I don't know to when, but just settling with y'all, it happened.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kat. And then Nancy. Yeah.
There is someone who's spoken. He's a quite surprisingly, he's a combination of a doctor and an actor. And he has spoken a few times on Radio Canada about the virus itself, not how it affects human beings, but just the people who have studied the virus. And he talks about it in ways that have actually developed with me. And to be honest, I've heard this third hand, so it comes on early, and it's in French, and my French is not good enough to reach that level. But he speaks of the virus as an intelligent, amazingly organized thing, and he speaks of it in ways that give me a great deal of respect for this. I'm not sure if sentient being is actually the right word, but it certainly sounds like one when you hear this from him. And quite a number of people have tuned into him after the first time because of this. And it's simply spoken from a researcher's point of view of watching and studying this particular virus over a period of time. And it's made it easier for me to settle down. I've felt like I'd like to get to know this virus. We probably could learn a lot as our species of sentient beings. We may be able to learn a lot from this virus in a collegial sort of way.
Thank you. Interesting perspective. I have seen things, of what we are learning, whatever the intent of the virus may be. That's another perspective that you're bringing. That's also, and also the learning that does seem to be happening. And I've seen poetry online, that this is the earth calling out to us and saying, wake up, you can't continue the way you've been. It's an important message. So yes, that there is intelligence operating along with a lot of really, really crass behavior and stupidity. There is intelligence operating in the world now. That's sweet to remind ourselves of. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You had your hand up, Nancy. Is it still up?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since this happened, I have been connecting more with the Guru Rinpoche principle and the heart connection. And lately, my default is ground, because I'm an airhead. And grounding has not worked at all for this. I can't walk far enough to ground. Nothing happens. I just get into suffering. It's like the ground is 3 feet up full of tears. But connecting to heaven's working really well, which is not my thing, which is weird. It's just, I'm noticing that this works, that doesn't. We've got different principles going on than normal.
Yeah. How wonderful you can allow yourself to notice that it's different.
I don't have a choice. It's different. When I try and ground, I get spaced out and dysfunctional. I've taken my therapy practice home, so I'm doing it on a computer. So while I get to go home, I have all my clients coming home and they're terribly upset. And so going home and grounding, going up and spacing. I don't know that it would work for other people, but try it.
Well, it's, it makes a lot of sense that in your home with your clients, more space would be very welcome.
Yeah, and I can't really find it this way. So, and I don't have a basement. So I guess that leaves me up.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say. We do open to different things at different times in our lives. And it may simply be that for whatever reason, your crown is now available in a certain way. And maybe that's the connection with Guru Rinpoche. I don't know.
Maybe.
Mhm.
And also, it's a crass downside of this, but this is an introvert's dream.
Right.
I don't have to leave my house for 2 weeks. That is so thrilling.
Yes, I know what you mean. There was a cartoon in the New Yorker, or maybe it was on Facebook, and the picture was of 3 people like, hooray, and under it was an introvert's dream.
It kind of is.
Social distancing,
I feel
Now
bad
it's
about
like-
it, but it's a relief to have some space because it's so much change.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's
indeed.
nice for you to be here. Thanks for giving us a place to see each other.
Thank you for coming and being in this place. There is no
Never
place.
left my house. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, yes.
Dati.
Tadati, I didn't recognize you. I saw your name before. Yeah, are you mute? You need to unmute. I haven't seen you with such long hair.
There, can you hear me?
Okay. Hi.
Hi, thanks for doing this. It's hard to put words in, how things feel. I just really appreciate to have people here I can trust and feel, I know the connectedness. And so that's really helpful just to have this here. In general, I feel very isolated with kind of like in this whole, I feel like, oh, it's too much. No, I'm not afraid about myself at all. I have a super strong immune system, but right now just nothing that worked before, like going for walks or sitting, or seems to help. It just feels like I need to disengage from that unconscious collective, as I call it. And just, it's hard because, I want to know what's going on. I want to, I usually don't listen to news. Now I'm into this kind of stream all the time and look what the stock market is doing, how the economy is crashing. And then I live with 13 people in their 20s and 30s. Most of them are great, but some of them are not very responsible. So it's kind of, hard to get into just this feeling of well-being that I feel needs to be established before I can help other people. I don't know if that made any sense.
Sure. So it makes total sense.
Yeah.
There's stress, that it's good to be with people you trust, that there's some people around you who are, although most are very fine or well, you're not afraid for yourself, but it's just uneasy, and the stream of news coming in, which you don't usually dose yourself with, is, it's turbulence, definitely, in the system. But, we don't have to be, what do you say? We don't really have to put any of that away in order to just be more settled. I mean, settled doesn't, it's nice when everything calms down, of course, but sometimes the calm is actually right there in the mess. And that's a kind of careful negotiation for everyone, but sometimes it's not about pushing it all away. It's about, okay, here it is, and I'm here too. Right in that is some kind of maybe strength. That makes sense. A little bit like we did in our practice, you know, recognizing that there's turbulence all around, but even just recognizing that is already, you know, presence. It's truth. It's real.
Yeah, it's tough to feel this immense fear and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I just wanted to surrender, but I feel trapped because my usual life is like doing a lot of things, being creative, and I haven't been
Right.
able, you know, to get into that space.
Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes we can't.
Right.
Yeah. But thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and that's very, very helpful.
Thank you. You're welcome too. Did I miss any hand? Anne.
Hi everyone. I'm so happy to see you, Anne and Harvey. I feel really full of love. It's just, I feel really close. It's like you're right here with me. With all of us. It's really, yeah, so sweet. And so nice to see some friends, you know, on the smaller windows, and some new people that I don't know, but it's nice to think that we're all connected through you, through the Sangha. So yeah, I'm just really in touch with like the preciousness of connection, and how most of my anxiety is really around my mum and my sisters in Liverpool. You know, I've actually I got back on the 13th, so Janine and I have been in self-isolation, and from England I got back, which is easy for us. You know, we've got a lovely house, we've got each other, we've got a swimming pool and the sunshine, but a lot of stress with my mum and my sisters, and you know, just the pain of being far away from them, and just also a lot of kind of breakdown in the family. But really what I'm kind of aware of in this moment is that there is always connection available for me. You know, there's like bigger networks of connection. And so even when I feel really like despairing of like the breakdown of connection in my family, you know, my family of origin, and anxiety around trying to control things, like there's always a wider holding, and that there's peace and kind of love in the holding. So I guess, you know, really been coming up for me are the qualities of kind of peace and sobriety, detachment, kind of equanimity, but also a lot of heart qualities as well. So a kind of, you know, nice balance, which is, you know, the opposite of like what my ego self is doing right now, which is just like a spinning wheel on like steroids. Poor Janine, who is like dealing with it constantly. So anyway, but I'm just really happy to be connected with everyone, and grateful for you making this time for us and always being there for us. I'm just like really struck by your love for us and always showing up for us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's
Thank you.
lovely to see you. Yeah.
We couldn't resist doing it.
There's so much wisdom and heart in what you say, Anne, and really what everyone has said. I think everyone has spoken about things that are touching you now in the heart, whether, you know, it's your pet, your mother, your life, your space, being moved by what somebody is saying about the virus. I mean, these are all really heart matters. And the heart matters, and the heart is maybe the beginning, middle, and end of everything. It's where we are born from. It's what we die into. It's what we're enlightened within when we awaken. You know, heart essence as our tradition. A lot of meaning in that.
Can you hear
So-
from Jack and Stephanie? Just a hello even? Are you on mute? Jack?
You've had enough of being online all day, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe. we were being pretty quiet. There's not much to say. Quiet, overflowing love and gratitude, much like Anne said, how you're always here for everybody. And though we are doing a lot of purba work and doing a lot of praying, there's also during the week a lot of online work with school, and it gets tiring being on the screen, but I really felt like we have to bring our day to an end being with you all. So we're happy to be here. I don't know, Jack, you want to?
I'd just say that this has just brought up, I mean, in a weird way, some kind of hope for me that things can really change, and almost that I don't want to go back to some of the things that they were. I'm really hoping that when this ends or whatever happens, that somehow I'm not going to be in my same job, even though it's not a terrible job or anything or whatever. I have this hope, and part of me says, I don't know why I have it, because I don't know how. I'm not really doing anything to change it. Maybe the practice a little bit, but other than that, but that's kind of, and it's also, it's kind of a strange thing, because there is a little bit of, I don't know if I'm feeling like, there's a little bit of fear, but it's weird because you look outside on certain days and the sun is out and people are walking around. It doesn't seem like there's anything wrong, you know what I mean? So on one level, it's like, it can be so beautiful outside, yet there's, you just can't go interact in the same way. And I'm kind of more of a one-on-one type of person, so this isn't terrible for me, but I don't know, that's just it, really.
Well, it's helpful to hear, and helpful to just hear what you're marinating with. That's what it feels like. You're kind of marinating.
Yeah, and you kind of threw out, well, you're doing a little bit of practice. I mean, practice is mysterious and it's hard to know, but that practice is powerful, and it's definitely in the mix.
I mean, it feels good, and it feels, I mean, obviously it's on a whole other level because of the time we have and everyone's so committed to it. And, talked a little bit about the purba practice, just that you feel like you're helping other people when you do it too. It's not really just about yourself. And I have these images of these multiple trillions of purbas flying into the virus, like almost like the dragons in Game of Thrones, and just burning up the virus, these little purbas going everywhere, but they're fire hands and just like multiplying, and almost like in Star Wars where Luke Skywalker goes into the Death Star, and it's just like, there it goes, and there goes, and like, I mean, that's what I keep seeing, like all over, everywhere, and it's just amazing, and it could be like little microscopic ones that you can't see, and purbas that are as big as the World Trade, that I shouldn't use that word, Empire State Building or whatever, so
it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and I think one of the things I was thinking about the other day was that I used the phrase that the Tibetans have a kind of science of imagination, and you're letting your imagination speak. And we can kind of discount imagination in the West. It's really not a language or a science that we attend to, but I think that part of what you're describing is just letting that have life and really breathing into it in a beautiful way. It's lovely to hear.
It's powerful to hear. It's giving life to some part of you. I want to say, no wonder you think that and hope that something could change, even if your ordinary mind doesn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Something is happening. Who knows?
Speaking of Purba, the Dorje Lekba behind the Dorje Purba, do you want to say hello? Hello, Gary.
Not sure you want that. Force mode.
This
What'd you
is,
say?
this is the used car salesman in front of, what do you have, my Dorje Purba? This is the new
No,
look.
Roger Kalaya has taken over.
Yeah, okay.
Really?
With the Hawaii shirt in the front ground.
They're made
And
for each
Barry.
other, just made for each other.
I've got to scare the virus away.
You're doing a good job.
If it is any kind of intelligence, like Kat was suggesting, it's not going anywhere near that thing.
We can only pray.
Yeah, we
That's
can
right.
pray.
That is only what we can do.
How are you feeling, Gary?
Oh, fine. This has been a wonderful few days. I mean, everybody has been engaged in the Madra Kalaya practice, and it's just so good to see everybody taking it on as their own. I mean, California altogether was 4 hours of practice and then 2 hours of talk. It's California. So, and of course, Stephanie stepped up to the plate big time, and they shared the Jainong with everyone. And it, you know, it's just, I mean, you feel the blessings just pouring through. It's unbelievable. The community is just, yeah. You just have to feel so lucky that you're in it.
Well, it's great to hear. It's great to hear.
Great
It's
to
have
hear. And
everybody.
thank you, all of you who are doing it. It's, we're kind of busy preparing for the retreat. But I'm really so appreciative of you, Gary, and Stephanie, and Jack, and Nina, and everybody who's, you know, made it, and Emily, who's made this possible, and for everybody who's participating. I mean, I just keep hearing how strong it is, how wonderful it is. Harvey did it this morning, I think.
Yesterday.
And yesterday, and you know, I can't wait. I don't know when I'll join, but it's a great thing, and I will just enjoy the merit of rejoicing that you're doing it. It's lovely. Thanks. Anybody else hiding out behind the screen that we don't know
Well, they
about?
may be hiding in YouTube.
If
but
you're
we can't
hiding in
get to that.
YouTube, you're safe. Mm. We're closing the date, right?
Yeah.
I was just, as I was thinking of what we might talk about, which we won't exactly talk about, but I've been reading a book that's been on my shelf for many years called The Hidden Lamp, Stories from 25 Centuries of Awakened Women. Reading the famous story of Kise Gotami. You know, she's the one who was born really poor, married wealthy, had a child who died in its infancy. And she goes to the Buddha and says, please help me, bring me back my child, can't you? And the Buddha says, I'll give you some medicine for your child if you can bring me back a mustard seed from the home of someone who doesn't have any relative who's died. It's one of the most famous stories in the, you know, the early practitioners. But it struck me again, you know, reading it in this time, it just, I don't know, it just struck me with a certain power. And the way they arrange is they ask different women to give commentaries on these stories. Christina Feldman, who's one of the founders of Insight Meditation, wrote a little commentary on this. And one of the things she said that struck me was that Buddha didn't scold her. He didn't tell her, oh no, get over it, you know, it'll be all right. He didn't say anything like that. He let her really be in her grief. And that's clearly a very important step. And he also didn't, you know, stand on a soapbox and teach about impermanence. He just said, go talk to your neighbors, kind of like we're doing, you know, talk to your neighbors and see how it is with them. And of course, as we all know, she doesn't find anyone anywhere a household that hasn't known death. And she comes back changed. And it's not that her grief for her child goes away, but just like what several of you said, she realizes she's not alone. And this seems a very poignant time, as Dent also said, we're not alone, and that's a big deal. And the teaching that samsara is fundamentally unsatisfying, when we sit in our comfortable homes with our swimming pool, it's sometimes hard. We've got one too, we never use it, It's hard, or Rice talking about it in a beautiful university. Honestly, I've been thinking about impermanence, for decades, and it's hard to get. But in this world right now, talk about the virus teaching us. Somebody suggested we should think of it as the karuna virus. Karuna means compassion. And it does seem to be teaching us compassion based on various things that you have said, and also my own feeling. There's sort of a softness. We're together. We welcome, even if we're not seeing each other, we welcome to being together. And we realize somehow that in order for the world to go forward in a way that maybe, Jack, you were also insinuating and talking partly about the shift for you, but we do seem to be on a kind of horizon where things could change in a way that could be positive. And that's the flip side, the upside of impermanence. And only that change occur, whatever change for positivity might occur, definitely seems to be coming out of this kind of fresh sense that we all have, or many people have, that we're in it together, one world. We've been talking about this for centuries, but it has a kind of a power now. And I don't know if it's only the drama of what's going on around us that is making this come through, but also because it does seem to open our hearts. I mean, how can it not? A friend on Facebook, Suna Rinpoche is in California, said that she saw on Facebook that the restaurants were saying, please, please do takeout from us or we won't survive. And then she heard that the doctors in the emergency room, they're just eating out of machines. So she had this brilliant idea. She said, I ordered 25 dinners from this restaurant and I sent them over to the emergency room for the doctors. And it's like, how wonderful, what a, in retrospect, obvious idea. I never thought of such a thing. So people, there is that goodness that is showing, along with some really vile things we all are aware too. So here it is, samsara and path opening to a way out of samsara just through our being aware of connection.
So what we will do is we'll do the dedication.
We're meeting again on Friday. Is that right?
At 7, yeah.
Friday at 7.
We'll do the lighting of the candle and the blessing, and then we'll
I
just,
don't know if you can see it.
in this moment at least, we'll follow Stephanie's model and people can just say out loud the names of the people they're concerned with.
Yeah. With all.
By this good.
By
this
good may I swiftly once become a great guru, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. With all of you in mind, we light this lamp of clarity. May the glow of love, wisdom shine within us, everyone, till we all rise forth born in one enlightened mandala. Sabina, her daughter, Chris
Lila
Wallet,
Kate and her husband.
Lila Kate and David,
Christopher Wallet.
Michelle Panzer, Max Panzer. Everyone everywhere who fears or has the virus. May our politicians be wise.
We'll close with an ah. wishing well to everyone, everywhere, those who are sick and those who are well, those whom we agree with and those whom we disagree with. May everyone be healthy. Love to you all.
Stay well, lots of love.
Great to see you all.
Love is all. See you Friday. So glad you joined. Hey, Emily, all right. You guys. That's enough to scare any virus away. Take care.